What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Happy October. Can you believe we are literally 2 months away from the end of the year? That is insane. October is like a big month for the podcast. We are officially in our 1 month of a year anniversary. We are coming up on 1 year of the podcast, which is insane. I cannot believe I've been doing this for almost 52 weeks straight. That is crazy. So yes, October is a very exciting month for a plethora of things. Mainly, being selfish because I started the podcast this month, but also obviously Halloween is around the corner. So if you missed it, and if you know Halloween in October crept up a little too fast for your liking, because I think we're all kind of like, how the hell did we get here? I dropped a pop culture guide to Halloween costumes over on my Substack. So I shared 9 different costumes. We have some pop girls, we have some TV, some movie, some couples costumes. So a little bit of everything for everyone. And it really just covers all of the pop culture things that kind of went on this year, and a little ode to some things from the past, or just like some of my favorite pop culture moments. So you can check that out on my Substack. It is linked down below. You can find it on my website. All of the Amazon links for everything is there. So you don't even have to search for it. Everything is literally there. You just have to click, add to cart, and buy. And I think I did a pretty good job putting these costumes together. It was a lot of fun. So go check that out. Get ready for a spooky Halloween, a spooky month. And if you end up wearing any of the costumes that I put together, make sure you send me a picture because I want to see these visions come to life. And now, before we get into the show, before we kind of, keep this ball rolling, it would be a little tone deaf of me to not come on and, obviously send my well wishes and address the fact that there is like a catastrophic hurricane going on right now in the United States. So to anybody listening, if you are in these areas and you can listen, I know a lot of places are out of power, there's flooding, a lot going on. So if anybody has been affected by Hurricane Helene, I am sending you my love. I hope you are okay. So scary. I feel like it's like you don't even realize the magnitude of this storm until you actually look into it yourself and realize that like full bridges, literally like highways are like all just like floating away. It is insane. So scary. So if anybody is listening and was affected or knows somebody who was affected, I am sending my love. I will link some resources down below where you can donate to people who need some help, because it's always nice to lend a helping hand when you can. And obviously I'm very privileged that I was not affected by it. So I will be donating, and if you have anything to donate or just spread awareness to, get people to donate to help out these families and people in need, that would be fabulous. But we are going to keep this show going and, keep doing our thing. And before we get into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, we're going to do a quick little weekend recap. If you listened to last week's episode, I was saying how I was going to All Things Go this past weekend, and I was seeing Sabrina Carpenter, which I did go to All Things Go, and I did see Sabrina Carpenter. But as I'm sure you've seen, and as you know, All Things Go did not go as planned. Obviously, Chaperone did end up pulling out on Friday, which was really disappointing. I was so excited to see her, and just, who knows where she's going to be in the next year. Like, getting tickets right now is insane for any concert. So I was like, all right, I secured some tickets. I saw her at Gov Ball. I'll see her one more time before the year ends. And then best wishes to me next year when she inevitably does some type of tour. But she did pull out. And yes, it is disappointing, but obviously, her mental health comes first. I didn't really want to get into it too much more. There was a lot of really insane takes online right now about her pulling out, about like, it's your job, you should do it. I get it. It is what it is. Everybody needs a mental health day. Everybody needs a sick day. Does it suck? Of course. But you know what? I still got to see Renee Rapp perform in the kitchen and Snow Angel with the full women's choir. And that is enough for me. My God. If you've been listening for a while, you know that I absolutely love and adore Renee Rapp. I've seen her a ton. Pretty much anytime she's in New York, I make it a point to go see her because I love her. I think she's one of the best live vocalists we have right now. I love her music. I love her. And it was her first headlining festival ever, which was really cool. I've seen her do Gov Ball, which was cool. I've seen her headlining tours. I've seen her perform in like an Apple store. Like, I've seen this girl all over the place. But to be at her first headlining festival was really cool, and just like a little full circle moment. She was playing Bruises during the set. And I remember I went to her first tour was called like the First Shows tour or something like that in December of 2022, it had to be. Yeah, so almost 2 years ago. And she just had the EP out, and it was like this tiny little room. It sold out so fast. I was lucky enough to get tickets, and she played Bruises for us before it even came out. So to see her at that first show and then see her headline a festival and perform Bruises to like, I think it was like 15,000 people was such a cool full circle moment for me. So I can only imagine how it felt for her. She was fabulous. That women's choir was incredible. It was actually the Resistance Revival Choir, which is a collective of more than 60 women and non-binary singers who joined together to breathe joy and song into the resistance and to uplift and center women's voices. And that is exactly what they did. They truly had like voices of an angel. It was fabulous. Snow Angel Live is truly like a religious experience, and seeing it with the choir and just like that whole ambiance, I was like, I'm levitating. Like my soul is leaving my body. It was incredible. And on the topic of incredible live performances, Sabrina Carpenter put on the show of a lifetime last night. It was incredible. So she had 2 shows in New York this weekend. Madison Square Garden was on Sunday, and then I went last night in the Barclays Center, and it was insane. It was such a good show. You guys know I am such a concert junkie, so I'm always looking. Obviously, I like to go and like hear my favorite songs live, but I really do like to go and look at the production, look at the lighting, look at the set design. Like I'm really into all of that behind the scenes kind of thing. I just think it's such a cool little thing to like just note, because there's so much detail and work that goes into a tour and any concert really. So I really am always paying attention to those little details. And there was not a single detail missed on Sabrina's show last night. It was genuinely incredible, from the set design to the lighting to her outfits to the dancers to the little infomercials between each set. Like it was so well done. I cannot stress enough how impressed I was with this tour. This is now, I've seen her like 4 or 5 times. The first time I saw her was the Emails I Can't Send tour, which was like a tiny little venue. So it was like crazy to see her do Terminal 5 was the venue. It's like hell on earth if you know, you know. So I saw her do Terminal 5 just a year and a half ago. And then I saw her at Jingle Ball, I saw her at Gov Ball, and now I just saw her do her headlining tour. And like just seeing her like evolution from like, she'd always had great stage presence, and like I was definitely late to the Sabrina Carpenter game. I'm not denying that. Like I definitely was not around before Emails I Can't Send, and I will, admit that. No problems with that. But just seeing her even from then to now is so incredible. And hi, editing Andrew popping in. The next 40 seconds of audio is very odd. It like doubled itself. I sound a little robotic. I'm not sure why. I'm using a new mic for the first time this week, and I thought I figured out all the kinks or whatever. It is literally just for these 40 seconds. The rest of the episode is fine. So bear with me for the next 40 seconds, and then it is back to normal. I apologize. I will hopefully figure it out by next week, but I couldn't cut this audio because the episode just like wouldn't make sense. So just wanted to pop in and let you guys know. Let's get back to the episode. It was such a good show. So I know it is like insane to get tickets, but if you have the chance to go, please get tickets. I always say it all the time in like a joking way, but genuinely, if anybody wants to save some money and try to get tickets, I have a SeatGeek code. It is 2pop to handle. You can get $20 off your first SeatGeek order. So take a look if she's coming to your city if you don't have tickets already, because this is a tour that you do not want to miss. It was so much fun. I had truly the best time. But that being said, enough about me. Let's get this show on the road and let's dive into some pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. And we're staying on the topic of Sabrina because she has some queen behavior going on this last week. So if you don't know, obviously living in New York is a little more on my forefront, but our mayor was indicted last week for a plethora of things. And it turns out that Miss Sabrina Carpenter, the pop star that she is, had a little play in it. So a report came out that after Sabrina filmed her Feather music video in that church in Brooklyn, if you listen to the episode when I talked about that, all the details. If not, I'm sure you know about it. It was like a whole uproar. It was very dramatic. But the priest ended up having to like step down from his position. He was still involved in the church, but he just took like a lesser level. I don't know the levels of a church. I don't go to church. But that being said, we're not getting on that topic again, because if you remember when that episode came out, I pissed off a lot of religious people, and I'm not going to do that again today. Just don't have the time, But so after the priest had to step down, the feds ended up issuing a subpoena against the church, and they ended up investigating all of the business doings between this priest and Mayor Adams. And it was kind of because of what was going on with everything going on with Sabrina. They were like, if he signed off on this music video to happen in the church, what else is going on behind the scenes. And I knew that he was like kind of in business cahoots with the mayor. And Sabrina Carpenter kind of helped us, bust a criminal this past week. So we love to see it. She also called it out at the MSG show, which I thought was hilarious. I love the fact that her New York shows were within the same week, that she kind of helped the mayor get indicted. Like, it's kind of iconic if you think about me. And, the world just, it kind of revolves around Sabrina. It is Sabrina Carpenter's world, and we are just living in it. Moving on to a topic that is something I genuinely am shocked to be saying, because I'm like, how the hell did we get here in this timeline? But Lana Del Rey has tied the knot with her boyfriend, Jeremy Dufrene. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I couldn't point this guy out of a lineup. But if you did not see, Lana Del Rey got married last week. So last Monday, she got a marriage license. And then by Thursday, she tied the knot. It's like very crazy. It is what it is. But a little background on Lana and Jeremy, because I wasn't familiar with this alligator tour guide's game and like what went on and the lore behind him and Lana. I keep up just for the pop culture of it all, but I don't stay too in depth with her love life or things like that. But this one caught my eye because he, not only is he, an alligator tour guide, he also has been doing some political affiliations lately and reposting some videos about Trump and kind of leaning a little bit that way. So I'm not here to, tell you who to support, who to vote for. If it's not clear, obviously I am voting blue. I'm nowhere near the Republican side of things, but to see the backlash that like Chappell Roan, Taylor Swift, all these people have been getting for their endorsement or lack thereof endorsement, and then for Lana to go ahead and marry this man who was like openly supported Trump and it's kind of crickets, is just a little weird to me. It's like, if we're gonna be politically charged in the pop culture space and we're gonna hold people accountable for their actions and who they're affiliated with, why is Lana marrying this guy not a bigger story? Like, the bigger story right now is the fact that he was engaged to his last fiance for 12 years and then never got married, but he's been with Lana for like, I think they started seeing each other in like May-ish is like what I could find. She posted a picture of the two of them in May and said, with family with my guy. They have known each other since like 2019. She did a tour with him, like not a concert tour, like an alligator tour, because that's his passion. So she did a tour with him back in 2019, and then she posted him in May, and they've kind of been seen out and about. They were at like Leeds Festival together in August. They were at the Electric Lady wedding last month now, with like Taylor was there, like everybody was there for that. So like he's been around for a little bit, and now they have tied the knot. But yeah, it just seems that like people are choosing where they hold, who they hold accountable and how they hold them accountable. And we're not calling anybody out. We're not, stirring the pot. I am just calling it how I see it. But yeah, Lana Del Rey is married, and it is what it is. I don't know. I don't know. It was just like when I saw the pictures of her like walking down the aisle, I was like, mind you, they got married at the gator farm that he works at. I think I left that out. Yeah. They literally got married like at the gator farm in the swamp, whatever you want to call it, in Louisiana. Like, very much, I mean, it makes sense for Lana. Like, I feel like this is kind of like her ideal situation wedding. Like, she thrifted her dress. They got the marriage license 3 days before. Like, obviously, like, Lana Del Rey is a character in and of herself. And this is no hate to her at all. Like, I'm not, coming on here to be like, she's a this or that. Like, I like Lana's music. She's a little kooky and like it is what it is, but I do think she's very talented. I think, I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at, but Lana Del Rey is married and he is apparently a Trump supporting alligator tour guide. So take with that what you will. We have some bigger, exciting wedding news on the horizon that they were going to flip the script and, keep the ball rolling. But Rebel Wilson has also tied the knot over the weekend. She got married in Italy over the weekend to her long-term partner, Romana. So this is the woman that she was with. They've been together for like 3 or 4 years now. When she came out and she posted that Instagram picture being like, I thought I needed a Disney prince, but it was actually a Disney princess. It was with Romana. Again, if I'm butchering that, I apologize. But so she posted that. That was like her coming out. It was such a big deal in a good way. Like, Rebel Wilson, I feel like, was in such the limelight for such a long time. Like, Pitch Perfect. She was everywhere with Fat Amy, and then she just kind of was taking on like every single role, and she was like in every movie, she was on every carpet, she was like in our face nonstop, and I never really got sick of her, but it kind of was just like she was like everywhere wherever they could get her, Rebel Wilson was there. And then she came out and it was like, oh my God, wait, she came out, she lost all this weight. Like you could just see that she was kind of like moving past this like fat Amy era in that sense and just kind of like keeping things going. And over the weekend, she had a destination wedding in Italy, which just so exciting. You know, the pictures are gorgeous just to see like them thriving, getting married, they started their family, just all good things. And I just feel like Rebel Wilson is somebody who just like doesn't get involved in drama. You never find her in a scandal. She kind of like does her thing. She just put out a book in April. She just debuted her, I think it was her producer debut, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was her first producer credit as well as starring in a movie adaptation of the musical The Deb that just premiered at TIFF last month. So she's been kind of doing her own projects, doing her thing, and like she really does just like stay in her lane and stays unproblematic. So I love to see her winning. I love to see her happy, getting married, doing her thing. And you know, it's a win for the gays. So congratulations to Rebel. Love to see it. It is what she deserves. And moving on to our next topic, it is the pop star who has kind of been on everybody's lips, both in a good and a bad way lately, and that is Miss Katy Perry. So obviously her album 143 just came out, and there's been a lot of backlash on it, and there's been a lot of praise for it from her fans. Like there's a lot. It's an interesting woman's world, if you will, to be Katy Perry right now, because on the one hand, it seems like she has this giant hate train behind her, and she's like at the wit's end of her career, and like nobody's listening to her music, nobody's streaming, like nobody's listening. But then it comes out that her album debuted at number 6 on the Billboard chart last week, and it was the number 2 best-selling album of the week this week. So like clearly somebody's lying. Like something is not adding up. Like I don't know. It is very interesting to see these numbers come in. And I am not saying this in a way of like discrediting her because I definitely know and can see the support. I have a lot of friends who are big Katy fans, and like her and her fans are rallying behind this album. And I love that for them. Like I said last week, I don't think it's a bad album necessarily. I just think it could have been a little bit better with who she was working with on the album. And I don't want to go into that whole thing again. I was listening to it today, actually, after I saw these stats come out. And I was like, you know what? It's not the worst album I've ever heard. I do wish the lyrics were a little more storytelling of her life and a little less just like, I wanted to write a pop song. Here are my lyrics. But that being said, like I said it last week too, like it's not a bad album. It just like, I wanted it to be better. But obviously people are listening to it, people are buying it. Like I said, she was debuted at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 last week, making it her 6th album to debut in the top 10. So that is all of her albums coming in with a top 10 debut, which is very impressive thinking about Katy's track record with the highs and the lows that she's been through. So clearly like she's still Katy Perry, and I will never discredit her. I've been writing for her and saying like, at the end of the day, she is Katy Perry. Like, I'm obviously going to listen to her music. I'm going to see what's going on. I don't always love what she's doing and love who she works with, but at the end of the day, she's Katy fucking Perry, as she says in the Woman World music video. And right now, she is like killing it overseas. She went and performed at Rock in Rio. It was actually, I believe it was the day that the album came out. She did a performance that night. She headlined in Brazil at Rock in Rio. The performance was incredible. She looked great. She sounded great. The crowd was going nuts. It was like an insane turnout. And then she is now in Australia. She just did like an AFL performance. I don't really know what that is. I'm assuming it's like the NFL, kind of like a Super Bowl. She had like almost like a halftime performance. The performance was incredible. Like the graphics that they did, the editing, she like rode in on a spaceship. People are going nuts for her overseas. She announced a bunch of Australian tour dates. They sold out. She had to add more. Like people are eating this up. I think it is just like the general public isn't. And it is really interesting to see that like, though she has this kind of like hate train kind of growing behind her, people are still listening and still streaming. And the Katy Perry hate is a little forced, I think, like even with Smile coming out, and like I feel like with the whole like when she shaved her head and all of that went on, like there was a lot of backlash that she got, and she kind of always is like the brunt of the joke in pop culture to an extent. I don't know, like she gets a weird rep, and like I said, I will always ride and support for Katy. I won't always love her music and love what she did, but like she has been such a pillar in pop culture and pop music that like you can't deny what she's done and what she's going to continue to do, whether or not, people are admitting that they are listening or not. People are clearly listening. People are buying it. I bought the album. I pre-ordered it. I got the signed vinyl. Like it's still in the box. I haven't opened it yet, but I did buy it. So like, even though I didn't hear it, didn't love it, didn't know what was going on, I bought it myself. I think a lot of people are in that boat where it's like, it's a Katy Perry album. And at the end of the day, the girls and the gays who love pop music are clearly still tuning in. It's debuting at number 6. It's selling the most or second most albums last week. Like, she's still doing her thing. She's still Katy Perry. And you know what? Congratulations. You are continuing to beat out these hate trains. They're literally never going to take Katy Perry down. No matter how hard they try, she's still going to end up having some type of success because it's the fans behind her who are so ride or die for her, and you have to admire it. You know, like you can't sit here and be like, oh, it's they're buying streams, they're doing that. Like, these are physical sales that are pushing her to these numbers. Like, it's impressive, and I am impressed. And you know what? Good for you, Katy. Keep it up. Well, don't keep up working with Dr. Luke, but keep up, the fandom rallying, if that's what you want to call it. Moving on to our next topic. This is just a quick little blip, kind of like piggybacking off of something from last week, but the Beyoncé Launderette video has come out, and my God, did she go there. I talked about last week the significance of the Levi's ad from the 80s that came out, so go listen to last week's episode if you want that little TLDR on it. There's a timestamp if you just want to listen to that. You click that, listen to it, come right back. That being said, I wasn't sure what she was going to do for the ad because I didn't think she was going to get down on her tidy whities, but Beyoncé got down to her tidy whities and she looked damn good. I did not think she was going to go for it. I did not. I thought like it was going to be something else. I also completely missed an article that she was filming this at a laundromat. Like, I thought she was doing all of this on Long Island at that dive bar. So I completely missed that. Had I read that and known that, I would have obviously been like, oh, no shit, she's doing the laundrette full campaign. But I missed it. It happens. It is what it is. I can't read every single article, but she did the campaign, she did the ad, and she looks so good in it. And I actually saw somebody point out on Twitter, I thought this was interesting. For Renaissance, she did that one ad, that one campaign with Tiffany & Co., and they used Summer Renaissance for the commercials. And now for this one, she's doing Levi's, and they're doing Levi's jeans. So it almost appears that we're going to be getting like one big campaign and one full kind of like commercial and push for each act. So curious to see, where they go with Levi's. You can buy the look that she's wearing right now on their website. So very curious to see where they go from here. And yeah, just, Beyonce at the end of the day is such a businesswoman. She's not going to put her name on something that isn't like 110%. And this is no shy of that. We definitely still have more parts coming. This was like labeled as part 1 of the Levi's ad. So whether it's going to be from the dive bar, who knows what else she's filmed. Like, we definitely have a lot more coming from this Levi's campaign, but I think this is an iconic way to kick off this partnership. And I cannot wait to see what she has left for this campaign and what's to come for Act 3, whenever that may be. I'm not rushing it like the rest of the Beehive. I'm being patient, and I'm sitting patiently for Mother because, she will call when she is ready. And moving on to our final little tidbit from the week that was just too pop to handle. Isn't really something typical too pop to handle fashion to talk about. It's not music, it's not movies, it's not celebrity based. It's just something that when I saw this, and it kind of fits in with the rest of the episode theme, which is kind of like media literacy. You'll get it as we keep going on with the show. Crumbl Cookie is getting into a little controversy right now, and they somehow had nothing to do with it, but somehow they are at the forefront of this issue. So a Crumbl Cookie pop-up was rumored to be opening their first time coming to Australia. It was such a big deal. Everybody loves Crumbl. I've actually never had it. They just don't seem appealing to me. I do enjoy, controversial opinion, I do enjoy those like the frosted cookies that they kind of resemble from the grocery store, but something about the Crumbl cookies just like really, I don't know, they don't appeal to me, so I've never tried them. That being said, bitches love them. Bitches go crazy for Crumbl. So them going to Australia had to be like the biggest deal. And it was like this whole thing. They were opening up this pop-up shop. People were lining up for hours. And when people got there, they were charging $17.50 per cookie. Now, for reference, a Crumbl cookie in the United States goes for about $5. So that's a big margin. That's literally triple the price and some change of what they charge here. And not only did they triple charge for the cookie, most of the cookies were stale and didn't taste good. And now you might be asking, how do these cookies, how do they not taste good? Crumbl's a huge brand, they are everywhere. They have tons of locations, tons of places. Well, the answer to your question is because this was not an authorized Crumbl cookie pop-up. which is such a crazy thing to say that there was a Crumbl Cookie pop-up that Crumbl Cookie had no affiliation with. How many times I'm going to say Crumbl Cookie on this podcast? I'll have to tally it up and, do an add up at the end. That being said, so these super fans of the brand from Australia took it under their own wing and decided they needed people to try Crumbl Cookie in Australia so bad that they were going to fly to the United States, purchase $6,000 worth of Crumbl Cookies, fly them back to Australia, and open up this pop-up shop as they want to, and just, could hope that it just goes well, and, they just really love the brand and wanted to bring it to Australia. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? When I saw this story pop up, I don't think I've ever added something to a episode outline so fast in my life. I was like, this is the content that I want to talk about. Literally insane. So you might be wondering, how did people fall for this? And how did they, not realize that this wasn't a Crumbl Cookie affiliated thing? And I am asking myself the same question. If I don't see it on the brand's verified account, their website, an email, especially if you're like a loyal purchaser of Crumbl, I'm sure you're on their email list, text, I'm sure that they do, like they have an app. Like there are so many ways for Crumbl, the official Crumbl company, to connect with their followers and their audience that they have built. And like they built a crazy following and audience. The fact that none of this was on any of their official platforms and people still showed up to this pop-up ready to go. People waited like hours in this line. They showed up to a gas station at like a folding table and bought Crumbl Cookies off the side of the street that were imported from America, flown to Australia. They got them through customs. I could not believe this story. I genuinely was like, what was going on? What were they thinking? But at the same time, I'm like, they were just trying to spread the love of Crumbl Cookie, kind of admirable. My other question is like, why did these people not pick up on the fact that it wasn't a Crumbl affiliated thing? Like, you can play both fields. You can really, it's a two-way street. Like, were they insane and crazy for buying all of these cookies and flying them back? Yes. But was it also insane for these people to line up at a gas station for hours and buy triple the price cookies that was never actually endorsed by the brand? Yes, like everybody's a little bit at fault. So obviously lots of controversy. As soon as the pop-up started, I guess they realized how big of a pull that they had. They updated their bio on TikTok and said, we are not affiliated with Crumbl. So yes, they did try to clean up the mess and cover themselves. But once you have a line down the block at this honky-tonk gas station in Australia with people ready to spend $17 on a cookie, it's kind of, it's a moot point to like put that in your bio at that point because people are already there. They're not checking your TikTok while they're in line. And they released an entire statement. Their Instagram got deleted. Their TikTok is completely wiped, but there's a Google Doc in their like bio that you can click on and read through. And they said, we are addressing the drama. We are super fans of the brand and we never claimed to be an official Crumbl store. This was clearly stated in our bio and our comments. Our goal was to bring the authentic Crumbl cookies to Australia by importing them directly from the USA. While most customers enjoy the cookie, a couple of influencers felt that they didn't meet the expectations. We apologize that the cookies don't live up to the expectations. However, they are just cookies at the end of the day. This was never about profit. Our goal was to bring Crumbl cookies to fans. Importing and reselling is called parallel importing, and it is illegal. We followed all procedures, including declaring the cookies as commercial goods and obtaining approvals from the Australian customs. Now listen, they clearly did their research and they knew that this could be a controversy, and I'm kind of impressed with the fact that like they fully like got approval from customs. They paid for it. They did a whole breakdown of everything that they did to pay for this. They spent $4,000 on flights and luggage, $6,000 on the cookies and the packaging, $2,000 in duties, taxes, and custom brokering, and $1,000 in staffing. They had additional costs. They said was microwaves, tables, the venues, marketing. They put money into this. And honestly, when you really think about it, like the fact that they spent so much money, not trying to turn a profit, just genuinely trying to like share the love and the wealth of Crumbl Cookie, like it's kind of cute. It's kind of admirable that they were like so dedicated to the bit and like ready to go. But at the end of the day, you can't buy something and resell it as your own without affiliation from the company. Like, they're really like selling themselves in the fact that they're like, well, we paid for it to get through customs. We found all the legal rights. We did everything ourselves. Like we paid more. I mean, $6,000 on cookies alone is insane. And then what is that? An additional 7,000. They're spending like $15,000 just to get these cookies. That is insane. At $17 a cookie, like obviously they have to hike the price up, but like this is insane. And it just goes to show, which we're going to get into in a little bit later, like I said, people need to become more media literate because, like, this is such a red flag to not get an official statement and announcement from a brand as big as Crumbl Cookies and still show up to this pop up that is literally in a gas station. You guys, the people who showed up are kind of, they're kind of boo boo the fool, but they also shouldn't have imported these cookies and, sold stale cookies. Oh my God, my favorite part, they were like, there was actually $1,000 worth of cookies that we ended up not selling because they got damaged in transit. So they really are doubling down on the fact that like they were just trying to get people these cookies and like they were dedicated. They were really committed to the bit. And for that, honestly, you got to give them some credit there. I just thought the story was so insane. And the fact that they're just like seeing nothing wrong with what they're doing, nuts. Literally nuts. And that wraps up our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. Next thing on the agenda, as always, is our Drew releases. We have a big one to talk about. As you guys know from last week's episode, the whole episode was pretty much about Lady Gaga. Harlequin is here and I am loving it. This is for the theater kids. So if you have not listened yet or you don't know what I'm talking about, Lady Gaga released an entire companion album to Joker Folie à Deux, which comes out this Friday in theaters. And it is a theater kid's dream. Now, as somebody who was in musical theater, who did chamber choir, show choir, a cappella group, like the whole nine, I was eating this shit up. I was like, get me on a stage, give me some tap shoes. I am ready to perform. I am ready to, get to Broadway, put my name in lights. I love this album, but I can totally understand where people are not loving the album because, it's not for everybody and I understand that. But whether you like it or not, you really have to give Gaga her chops for the fact that she can really do anything. She can do pop, she can do country, she's done hyperpop, she's done a little bit of metal and like rock in some of her sounds. She can do more like futuristic sounds like with art pop, with Chromatica, and she can do an entire Broadway album or a Broadway-esque album and still sound phenomenal. She is incredible. I am loving this album. And that's all I'm going to say. I feel like there's a lot of people being like, why did she release this? We didn't want this. We want a traditional Gaga album. To those people, it is literally not a Gaga album in the sense that she is like, this is my project. She is very clear in the marketing. She is very clear in all of it that like, this isn't my project. It's just a fun little side project that I wanted to do because, I am method acting. Again, if people were media literate and read more than just a tweet on Twitter, they would know that. But that being said, we know that people do not do that and they do not do their research and they just are ready to jump down anybody's throat whenever they can. So that being said, Lady Gaga, they can never make me hate you. Release another Broadway album, release 3 more. I will eat them up every single time. We also did get a Kelly Clarkson release last week, her Christmas song. Gonna be honest, I did not listen to it. I am not in the Christmas mood yet. Not that I'm not going to listen to it. I did download it, I pre-saved it, or whatever you want to call it. Just not ready for Christmas music quite yet, but it's Kelly Clarkson and it's a Christmas song. It's going to be incredible. So whenever I get around to it and I do listen to it, I will let you guys know my thoughts, but it's a Kelly Clarkson Christmas song. What is not to love? And then as for releases for this week, the only one that I have on my radar is JoJo. She's actually dropping a song today if you're listening to this on release day, October 2nd. It is called Porcelain. Very excited. It sounds very pop, very fun. I'm about halfway through her book and I am loving it so far. I've been doing a lot more like editing and audio stuff at work, so I haven't had time to actually listen to it as much as I want to, but I'm really liking it so far, so I'm not leaving you guys hanging there. I will give you a full recap on the book once I finish it, but I'm very excited for some new music from her. I think especially in this moment she's having right now between being on Broadway, releasing her book, and now it just like makes sense to also release music. After all, that is like her passion project and how we know her first. So new JoJo music coming out today if you're listening to it on release day. If not, it is already out. We will chat about it next week. week. And that wraps up our releases for the week, but we are not done talking about music just yet because Ariana Grande must have known, she must have, seen my Google Doc and known that she is going to be the woman of the hour for this week's episode because today she decided, in honor of the 7-month anniversary of Eternal Sunshine, she was going to drop Eternal Sunshine slightly deluxe and also live, which, as somebody whose favorite release of the entire year has consistently been Eternal Sunshine, nothing to me has been better than that album. I was thrilled. And the fact that I was already planning to talk about her for the bulk of this episode, she knew. She must have known, and holy shit, I what else is there to say? Ariana Grande's live vocals are so unparalleled, and she is just such a talent. Like I said, this is my favorite release of the year, and I would go as far as saying it's my favorite Ariana Grande album that she's ever released. I love this album. I think the production, I think the lyrics, I think the vocal on it, everything surrounding this album, I just think it was flawless. It is perfect. I love this album so much. It's going to take a lot for somebody to release something with the 2 months that we have left of this year to top that. But like I was saying, she released this live version to celebrate the 7 months of the album. She is also releasing a video for each of the live tracks every day this week. So today she released Intro, End of the World, and as the week goes on, every day will be a new one. So she posted today and she said that before she goes back into her bubble to meet us over the rainbow next month, she was giving us this as kind of her send-off, because we know she had that moment where she was like, I'm not promoting anything else, I'm just going to do my own thing. So obviously she goes back and forth with what she wants to do, and she's Ariana Grande. She can do whatever she wants, and I will take anything she wants to give us. If there's a live performance of Ariana Grande, I will be seated, I will be sat, I will be tuned the fuck in. I couldn't ask for anything better. So we got 7 live tracks. She did Intro, End of the World, Don't Want to Break Up Again, Eternal Sunshine, Supernatural, Yes and, We Can't Be Friends, and Imperfect for You. So we've gotten live performances of 2 of these so far. We obviously got We Can't Be Friends and Imperfect for You on SNL. I don't believe we got a Yes and live performance yet. I could be blanking and it could be wrong, but I'm 90% sure we haven't gotten a Yes and live performance yet. So a lot of these are new. I know the rest of them are definitely new, like Intro, Don't Want to Break Up Again, Eternal Sunshine. Oh, we did get The Boy Is Mine on Fallon, I believe it was. Either Fallon or Kimmel, slipping my mind. Regardless, it doesn't matter. But so these are some new live performances that we haven't gotten yet, and I cannot wait to see the videos. It's very much giving the 10-year anniversary of Yours Truly that she did last year. Those go number 1 in our living room at least once a week. So the fact that we're getting these songs it's a very important day in this household. I'll just give you that. She sounds incredible. I love these tracks. We Can't Be Friends is still my favorite song that's been released this entire year. So I am seated. I am sat, like I said. But that is not the end of our Ariana Grande conversation because, like I said, she is the woman of the hour along with her Wicked co-star, Cynthia Erivo. So they sat down with Vanity Fair for a killer interview. This interview was so good. We learned so much about them as a duo, about their filming on Wicked. A lot of it is things that we did already know, but this was just such a raw and real interview, and seeing their friendship, and they did a lie detector test. It was just a fabulous interview. I absolutely loved it, so I needed to chat about it with you guys. So first things first, the photos for this shoot are incredible. There are 3 different covers and then obviously a plethora of images throughout the article, and they are just, it's one is just better than the other. So we get a duo cover of the 2 of them. They are in this classic black and white look. Ariana's kind of channeling a little bit of Marilyn Monroe with her dress. Cynthia looks stunning as always. And then the individual covers are just as gorgeous. Ariana Grande is sporting this blue number, kind of giving Glinda on Broadway bubble dress. So if you're not familiar with Wicked, she doesn't wear a pink dress the entire show in the stage production, but I think for Wizard of Oz continuity and to kind of resonate better with the general public who might not be as familiar with the world of Oz, they stuck with the pink for her for the movie, which I totally agree. I think it makes the most sense. And she does wear a pink dress eventually in the movie, in the Broadway show, excuse me. But she's wearing this kind of blue number that kind of pays an homage to the Broadway show, at least what I was taking from it. And then we have Cynthia with this gorgeous green off the shoulder shirt and this black, almost Formation-esque Beyonce kind of hat, very much giving Elphaba Wicked Witch with the green and the black hat. Just beautiful. Absolutely stunning. I love it. And like I said, the photos throughout the article are they're incredible. They are so well done. The looks, the staging, everything is just chef's kiss, gorgeous. But we're going to get into this interview because there was a lot to unfold. So, John M. Chu, the director of the movie, he went on and he was talking about the audition process and kind of like how they came about like getting the roles and who was going to play what. And he said this a lot, that Ariana Grande was so persistent in her auditions, and he's kind of doubling down. He said, I sort of didn't want to believe that Ariana Grande could do this. It seemed almost too easy to say, oh, Ariana Grande. But time and again, Grande proved her worth. Every time she came in, she was the most interesting person. You just couldn't take your eyes away. And then Ariana Grande responded and she said, I knew so many of the people that were going in and everyone was texting me. I was trying my very best to be 100% transparent with everybody. Like, this is my tea. This is what I'm singing. I'm going on the 13th. I love you. Text me after, which Cynthia responded, Ari, that's crazy. Ariana Grande says, I know. I had no boundaries back then. And Cynthia goes, I'm so glad we know each other now. So just off the bat, we are getting this such like a sisterly relationship between the two of them, and the fact that like Ariana Grande is showing her growth from when she started this audition process to now being so close with Cynthia and getting ready for the release, saying like, I was texting other people who were auditioning because I wanted to see what they were singing. I was telling them what I was singing. That is very crazy. And we do know Ariana Grande has a rich history of not setting boundaries with people and kind of just like, you know, being an open open floodgates and kind of doing whatever she wants. So happy to see that Cynthia has kind of, wrangled her in and kind of helped her to this next stage in her life, if you will. And we'll see it throughout the interview, but I just love their relationship so much. And the bond that they have built is so admirable. But first up, we're going to talk about Miss Cynthia Erivo because I could talk about her for hours. She is just a talent. And she shared that Idina Menzel shared with her that she is thrilled to see her in the movie. So they were presenting together at the Tonys, and she said that it was the ultimate stamp of approval. It was the Queen Mother knighting you. And that's got to be such, obviously Ariana Grande has Kristen Chenoweth's blessing to do whatever she wants. They are like longtime friends. Kristen has pretty much mentored her entire life. There's a whole story about her going backstage and getting the body wash from Kristen. Like, Ariana Grande obviously knew that Kristen was thrilled for her to be playing Glinda, but you do have to kind of think like, how does Idina Menzel feel about Cynthia playing it? So for Cynthia to get that sign of approval, especially knowing that Kristen Chenoweth was so on board with Ariana Grande, it had to just be like such a nice feeling for her. She also told us a little bit about the getting ready process for the movie. She said that when they were doing her head, neck, and hands, it was about 2 hours and 45 minutes to get ready. If they did the entire body, it was a 4-hour process. That is so crazy. That is insane. And that is dedication. And that is why she got the role, because not many people are going to sit in that chair for 4 hours and get painted green. She also said that they went through multiple green tests to get the ideal tint, and they ended up having to go with like a more yellowish hue because on the complexion and the darkness of her skin is what made it look the most realistic. And again, it just kind of goes to show like she was very on board with this role clearly, and she was very dedicated to making sure it was like the best of the best that they could be. There were no corners cut during this process in anything. And it just makes me so excited for this movie, which I've been talking about for so long, I feel like. But every time we get a little more tidbit, I just get more and more excited. Ugh. Also, something I did not realize, but something very exciting. Miss Cynthia Erivo is only one award away from an EGOT. She is just missing the Oscar. So I swear to God, if she does not get the Oscar for this movie, I will show up at the Academy's door with a pitchfork. Give this woman an EGOT. It is what she deserves. So she actually was nominated for an Oscar back in 2020 for Best Actress and Best Original Song for her role in Harriet. So she's gotten close and she has everything else. She just needs the O. She has an EGT. We just had to get her the O. And oh my God, like I said, if she does not get this award, there's going to be some problems. And then we got a little personal with Cynthia, and we learned that obviously it's hard to be on set for so long, and you're away from your family. They filmed in London, but it was a little hard for her to film some of the scenes because it seemed that she was method acting so much and getting so committed to the roles. She shared that the Ozdust ballroom sequence was really hard for both of them to film, but more so on Cynthia because of the essence of the scene. So I won't give too much away. If you've never seen it, you don't want spoilers, but it's pretty much a scene where, I mean, they say it in the article, so if you read it, you'll know, but it's a scene where Glinda is kind of like being a little bitchy to Elphaba and is kind of putting her on the spot to make her look like a fool. And Cynthia said that they had to do it so many times that it was such a heart-wrenching moment in the film, and like where she had to be so committed to it that she ended up having like a full breakdown on set. And Ariana and John Chu both were like, hey, get off set for a sec, go take a breather because like clearly it was affecting Cynthia and not just Elphaba. So, like I said, everything we learn about this movie, it just gets me more excited for how not excited that she had a mental breakdown, but just committed, like the way that they were committed to it and just put their all into these roles and every single second they were on set. It's just so admirable. And I cannot wait for this film. Moving on to Miss Ariana Grande, she's bringing up the whole voice switching thing again, which we did talk about a little bit back when she was on Zach Sang, but she is doubling down on it. So she said, there is a part of the world that isn't familiar with what it takes to transform your voice, whether it's singing or talking on a different dialect for a role or doing a character voice for something. When it's a male actor that does it, it's acclaimed. There are definitely jokes that are made as well, but it's always after being led with praise. Oh, wow, he was so lost in the role. And it's just part of the job, really. And I think, like, she doesn't like to admit it. And a whole theme of this is saying where, like, she doesn't let the media criticize her. But I think she is just, like, so tired of people writing narratives for her. And we'll get into that in just a second because she goes very deep into some topics that she hasn't gone into yet. And I think she just loves to just, like, double down and be like, hey, just a reminder, Austin Butler had his Elvis accent for 17 years after the movie came out, and people were admiring it for as long as they could before they got tired of it. And the movie hasn't even come out yet, and people are already coming after her and being like, she's voice switching, she's doing this, da da da, she's da da da. And it's so true. I mean, it's happened with Gaga, it happens with everyone. When a woman does anything, it gets completely ridiculed. When a man does something, it is praised. So I'm glad that she's sticking to her guns and is like really just like doubling down on the fact that like she doesn't give a fuck. She is going to be committed to her role and she is going to be committed to the bit and she doesn't care what the fuck you're all saying. I thought this was really interesting. So she got asked, like, well, what was it like growing up on Nickelodeon, being a child star? And she said that the back and forth throughout my course of career had really been hard to navigate. I was this approachable, funny redhead on Nickelodeon, and everybody liked me. Then I had one too many hit records, and everyone decided I was an evil diva. Then all their terrible things happened, and all of a sudden I was this hero and the victim. So that is something I've never really considered, the fact that like as soon as she really started to get this like fame outside of Nickelodeon and she was like becoming more of a woman, very like Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana-esque, where like as soon as they step out of that comfort zone because they're ready to grow up as people do, she's immediate. They're a diva, they're crazy, they must be doing drugs. Ariana Grande is, jumping from man to man. Like they just got such like a ridicule there. So as Beyonce says, Monday I'm overrated, Tuesday on my dick. She also made some comments about quiet on set. So she said, you don't remember some of it, and then it's thrown in the complication of the thing, and you're like, wait, that happened? I can't believe that. The most important thing we can do is focus on making the working environment safer for all performers and artists, even musicians. If you're going to sign to a major label and your life's going to change in the way that mine did, there should be therapy in the contract. You should have support of the mental side because it's not normal. Nothing can prepare you for what comes with this amount of visibility. And obviously, there was a lot of flack for her when Quiet on Set came out because though she wasn't really involved in the documentary herself, she was obviously a big point of the documentary because there was a whole scene of her with the potato and like showing her feet. And like there was clearly some weird stuff going on with Dan behind the scenes that maybe it didn't like. Maybe because Joan, her mom, was so involved, it didn't get to the point where it got with some of the other people, but she was definitely exploited for what it was. And people were really on her for not making a statement sooner and things like that. So I think the fact that she's just like, hey, in the moment, you don't realize what's happening with you, but going forward, get these kids some therapy when you sign them a contract because it could have helped a lot of us out of this situation now that we're dealing with it years later. So I think that's actually the first time she's talked about it in an interview, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like the first time she's actually brought it up without just like a statement on Instagram or something like that. So definitely interesting to see that. And then, I mean, the biggest part of the interview was that she is finally talking about her relationship with Ethan Slater. Obviously, this is like the biggest story to come out of the Wicked movie, which honestly pains me and definitely pains the cast because like this is a movie that people have been waiting for 4 years. Literally 4 years to get a Wicked movie. And the fact that like the biggest thing coming out of it is Ariana Grande as a homewrecker and Ethan Slater as a terrible dad when nobody knows what went on behind the scenes. Like it's such a shitty thing. And I do think they've done a good job of kind of like, masking over it and kind of like getting themselves out of the limelight in that sense. But it is, it's not something to ignore, and it is something that happened and everybody was involved. So They asked her, how did it feel with everything going on, with, people just jumping to conclusions and automatically assuming the worst in both you and Ethan? And she says, it definitely doesn't get easier seeing some of the negativity that was birthed by disreputable tabloids. Of course, I went through a lot of life changes during the filming of this movie. A lot of people that were working on it did. We were away for 2 years, so of course I understand why it was a field day for the tabloids to sort of create something that paid their bills. There couldn't be a less accurate depiction of a human being than the one the tabloids spread about him. No one on this earth tries harder or spread themselves thinner to be there for the people that he loves and cares about. There was no one on the earth with a better heart, and that is something that no bullshit tabloid can rewrite in life itself. So this is really the first time we are hearing her talk about Ethan at all. And I know that for a fact because if you've been listening to this for a while, we've been talking about them since the beginning of this podcast. I genuinely think one of my first episodes, if not the first, the second episode, we were talking about that first photo of Ariana and Ethan out to dinner in New York. And it was like the biggest deal because there was nothing really going on with them. And they've been spotted out and about, she was at Spamalot and they've been here and there. But that was really like the first big situation when after Wicked stopped filming and everything went on. And even Bowen Yang, he was in the article as well. They did interview him a little bit for it, but he said on Las Culturistas, he was talking about how like what people are saying in the tabloids is not what happened on the set. And as somebody who was there firsthand and like you never know what happened on a set or behind closed doors, like people take these stories and just run with it. And like she said, like I was away for 2 years, so of course they had a field day with anything that they could. Like they heard any inkling of me being a bad person again and just ran with it. And you can go back a few weeks, or not even weeks, months. I did an episode called You Owe Ariana Grande an Apology, and I am sticking to my guns. They could never make me hate her. I don't think she wrecked a home. I don't think she pulled him away from his wife. I am convinced that like the wife just went on like a psychotic break or something after everything happened and like called TMZ, which reporting things. I don't know. Something seems fishy in the situation. And I don't think the story that we were told is the actual story. I don't think he's an absent father. I don't think he is, this monster who cheated on his wife. I think they were separated. We'll never know the back end because, it's none of our business, quite frankly. But this was like a big moment for her to talk about this. And I was like, I didn't think we were going to see the day. I was shocked. I thought if anywhere she would do it on Zach Sang, but that was like completely off limits. They really focus on the album. And I guess when this article is so Wicked focused, it's kind of the biggest elephant in the room that she hasn't talked about yet. We got tidbits on the album, of course, about the relationship and how things went. And she kind of, why do you care so much about whose dick I ride? Like she quite literally was like, I don't give a fuck what you guys are saying. I'm just going to go along with it. The boy is mine, do my own thing. And I don't know. Like I said, they can never make me hate Ariana Grande. That is my bitch. I love her. I am loving this live album. I am loving all of this Wicked press we are getting. We're getting like a Starbucks collab this week. We're getting Funko Pops. Like we are getting so much Wicked content. I can't even deal. I feel like I've been talking about this movie for months and I am so excited for it to come out. What is it, November 22nd? We're like 55 days away, give or take. Again, you guys know math isn't my thing, but I want to say we're like less than 60 days away, which is so exciting. Ugh, I cannot wait. I will be there opening day. I don't care where I have to go, what time I have to do. If I have to take off work, I will be there. I cannot wait to talk about the Wicked movie. Wicked Part 1, of course, because there is two, but regardless, ugh, I'm so excited. This interview was just so well done. Obviously, it's Vanity Fair. It's a very credible source who is not going to publish like a gossipy kind of like, painting a negative picture article. They're not going to do the clickbait, things like that. Like the article was very focused on Cynthia and Ariana's relationship and just like their love and dedication for the project that they're currently promoting. And I think that the person who interviewed them and the way that they kind of like called out to Bowen, they called out to John Chu, like the way that they incorporated everybody in the project into this interview just really made it such like a full rounded project. And I just loved it. Thought it was a fabulous interview. Thought it was a great photo shoot. If you haven't read it yet, I would definitely recommend going and reading it. There were definitely some things that I left out, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys like the TLDR and what I took away from it. But I can't wait. I'm so excited for this movie. And like I said, if Cynthia Erivo does not get an EGOT for Wicked, I will be showing up at the Academy's doorstep with the pitchfork. And that being said, we have made it to our TV recap for the week. Actually, literally right now, as I'm recording, Roni, Real Housewives of New York, is premiering, but I will not be watching that live because I record on Tuesdays and I am very dedicated to my craft. And we don't watch live anyway because my boyfriend doesn't like commercials. So I wouldn't be watching tonight anyway. But we are recapping Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Next week, I'll do a Roni recap and a Salt Lake City recap. And I'm going to kind of try to see how I'm going to go about recapping both of them. But that is for me to, figure out and for you guys to find out when it comes. So, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, episode 2 last week. The girls are just fighting this season. Oh my God, we're 2 episodes in and they are just like at each other's necks non-stop. I definitely think Heather throwing Bronwyn under the bus kind of backfired on her. And like, of course, she didn't tell Whitney word for word what she said in Lisa's car, and it was a little more scathing in Lisa's car. Bronwyn didn't really like cut any corners or hold anything back when she was telling Whitney about what she thought about the Bezos party. So when Heather kind of threw her under the bus, obviously we knew Heather was going to do that because she had the conversation with Lisa, and then she went shopping for crystals with Whitney, which was a whole nother situation we're not even going to talk about. But I don't know. I thought it was like when Heather called her out and like literally just kind of like backfired and got like nipped in the butt. I'm curious how that's going to come up again throughout the season because I feel like it kind of got overshadowed by like Brittany and everything with Mary and all that stuff going on, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, that was interesting. I thought it was very, very interesting the way that it kind of just like flipped and didn't kind of create the narrative that I think Heather wanted it to. Before we get into Brittany and Mary, I thought it was really big of Angie to call Lisa and ask to get lunch the next day. I love Angie K. I think she is honestly like a really good friend. I think she always has everybody's best interest for them. But I think with this group of girls, it just, or really with any friend group, like, though, if you're playing devil's advocate and you're kind of playing both sides, it's going to bite you in the ass. So we saw that kind of come to fruition at the party that Lisa threw. And I thought that Angie calling her the next day was really like a big like I don't know, a big show of her character. She was like, "Hey, I fucked up. Let's talk about it. Let's get it, let's iron this out." It didn't really go anywhere. Like they kind of still were arguing at the lunch and Lisa was talking over her and like she was like, "This is how I am. This is who I am, and if you can't take it, don't take it." I think they're like fine. They like smoothed it over, but I'm curious to see if that kind of like becomes an issue again later on through the season, if they kind of need to like really hash things out again because I don't think they left that lunch like on the best terms. They're definitely better, but it didn't like seal the deal and kind of like end things. You know what I mean? Like it kind of, there's still a little bit of like tension there, I feel like, but there's obviously like bigger fish to fry within the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City universe. So let's get into those fish because they are some big ones. Brittany and Mary going at it like that was crazy. Now, I really like Brittany. I think she has a good heart. I think she is really just like looking for love, wants the best for her situation. It's just like I like her a lot. I think she's a really good addition to the show and whatever. I do think it was a little crazy to think that like her man posting this is my best friend on on his Instagram story led her to think that like they were official in a relationship, and it kind of made me sad that she like went to this lunch and was like, guys, he posted me on Instagram, we're official, and then the story was still live and in real time they looked at the story and they were like, he literally called you his best friend, you guys are shopping together as best friend, you guys aren't official. That was a little harsh and like I did feel bad, and you could just tell she has that like she's like she wants it so bad. She wants a relationship. Obviously, being Mormon, that is like they want to get married because you can't get into heaven, quote unquote. Again, I'm not religious. Like I said at the top of the show, we're not getting into it. But that being said, the way that like Mary just like completely went for it and just like she was not letting up. And I mean, that's typical Mary Cosby. Like she is very much like her way or the highway, whatever she thinks is the right way. Nobody else has any other better way to think. I mean, we all know her church and how they kind of worship her. And I also am like, are we going to see anything about the church this season? Because I would love to get a little update on how the church is going. I digress, not what we're talking about. I felt so bad that like Brittany was getting so ganged up on her. Everybody was being so like mean to her about it when like clearly like she's in a sticky situation. I think seeing her play pickleball with Heather really opened up like where she's at, kind of more of her situation and like what her goal is, not in life, but or I guess in life, but like her goal as of now and like where she's at personally. I don't know. I felt really bad that like they just kind of like jump down her throat. And like it was kind of a shitty situation where that Instagram story was still live. But that being said, there's a, I could keep going on. The whole Meredith thing, doing her bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, whatever it's called. She's getting a lot of flack online for it. And like I said, I'm not toying with religion. I'm not getting into it. Obviously, people are quick to jump to conclusions and are just jumping down her throat saying, she stands for this or she stands for that. I think wanting to get more in touch with your religious side and where you stand as far as like human rights are two different things. That's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not playing in that murky water. Not my circus, not my monkeys. That being said, we are moving on to the final segment of the show. We have made it to my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving, and my mess being something I am not loving. We always start on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle, so my yes for the week is Bowen Yang. And this kind of plays into my media literacy of it all, but also just like we have to give him his 10s. SNL 50 premiered over the weekend. I thought it was a really great episode. And honestly, Bowen Yang held the entire episode on his back. He was in every scene that is trending right now. He was either starring in it or was a part of it. He is incredible. I listen to Lost Culture Reaches every single week. I love him. I think he is so talented. I think he's hilarious. So when I kept seeing all of these skits come up about like, he did Charlie XCX, then he was Moodang, then he was JD Vance, I was like, he is holding this episode on his back. And I love to see it. But the reason he is the yes is not just because he was, holding everything on his back. It's because, again, people are so media illiterate that they are not understanding the humor behind what he is doing. And like, it just drove me crazy. So obviously he did the Charlie XCX scene with the skit where he did the talk show with Sarah Sherman being Troy. He played JD Vance in the like Trump and Kamala skit. I thought it was hilarious to have a gay Asian man playing JD Vance. He is going to hate that, but that's the spirit of SNL. I love to piss off a Republican and they are doing it perfectly. But obviously, the hippo in the room is the Moodang sketch, which is such a crazy sentence to say. And anybody who is not chronically online will never understand the words that just came out of my mouth. But he came out, he was dressed up as the infamous hippo, Moodang, who obviously is like taking the internet by storm right now, and was pretty much reciting Chappell Roan's TikTok about being like, I'm too much in the limelight. People want a photo with me, but I don't need to stop. I'm not like a pawn in your game, that whole situation. And the way that people reacted to it and are like freaking out about it, really, it could be the mess of the episode in and of itself. It's not. I have another mess, but like this is mess adjacent. The way that people are like, Bowen just interviewed Chappell and she's going to come on the show in 3 weeks and they just made fun of her and he is like this gay man making fun of a lesbian. Gay men hate lesbians. Can everybody calm the fuck down? He is a comedy sketch show cast member dressed up as a viral baby hippo, bringing light to the fact that people treat celebrities like they are objects and pretty much just like proving Chappell's point that like people take everything celebrities do and say completely out of context, blow it up to a level that like it never needed to get to. And the fact that like the biggest headline to come out of SNL's 50th season premiere was Bowen Yang mocks Chappell Roan. I am begging people to touch some grass, learn a bit of media literacy, because like clearly the joke went over your head completely, which might be a problem with the SNL writers. Like maybe that's a them problem. But regardless, it wasn't a hard joke to get. It was very clear the message that was coming across. And if you couldn't understand what he was trying to portray, especially knowing how big of a Chappell fan Bowen is, he talks about her on Lost Culture Reese's nonstop. He just interviewed her. Like clearly there was a level of respect between the two of them that is very clear and unparalleled. And Chappell herself literally commented on the sketch and said, hilarious. Clearly, she is not taking this personally. Knowing the mental state that she is in right now, she could probably use a laugh and, a little ha ha from somebody who I'm sure she considers a friend, especially after the history that her and Bowen have. These people online are just like, it is getting insane the way people act and the way people just like jump to conclusions. And like I said, the moral of this episode is everybody needs to take a media literacy course and understand how to react and how to further investigate things. Because how did you show up to a gas station for a Crumbl cookie pop-up that wasn't sponsored by the brand? How is Ariana Grande still the center of the homewrecker allegations and all of this when she has clearly stated that it's not the situation? And how is Bowen Yang dressed as a hippo on a comedy sketch show making light of a situation that his friend is currently in, the biggest headlines of the week? It is insane. I digress. Bowen Yang, they can never make me hate you. I loved SNL this week. I thought it was great. What a killer way to kick off such a monumental season. And like I said, Bowen Yang held that episode on his back. I loved it. And moving right along into our mess of the week, the man who smashed a $4,000 guitar that was signed by Taylor Swift. Are you okay? Is everything okay at home? I'm going to go ahead and say I know everything is not okay at home because, like, let's boil it down. This man spent $4,000 at an auction to get a signed Taylor Swift guitar. He then proceeded to grab a hammer on his way up to claim his $4,000 prize and proceeded to smash the guitar in front of this crowd as they cheered. Now, I do have to mention it was in Texas. There was a giant American flag behind them. Obviously, we know how they're voting. We know where they stand with Taylor Swift and her stance on Kamala. That is not the point. My favorite part of this entire saga, Taylor Swift has never been within 100 feet of this guitar. She has not touched it. She has not seen it. She has not breathed on it. She did not even sign this guitar. This was a guitar with the Eras Tour poster, like, screen printed onto it and a cutout from a Midnight vinyl signed variant. They cut her signature out of it in the shape of the guitar and glued it to the guitar. This man just spent $4,000 on a guitar that Taylor Swift has never even seen in her life. Probably has a value of about, those vinyls retailed for like $30. The guitar is probably like 100, $200. Spent $4,000 on probably like a $300 value item to smash it in front of a crowd. And they wonder why they are the laughing stock of this election. It's like it takes a different type of stupid to act like this. That being said, we have made it to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating. You can leave me a comment on Spotify, tell me what you thought. You can leave me a review. You can follow the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, give me a like, drop a comment down below. Like I said at the top of the show, make sure you subscribe to my Substack along with my weekly newsletters that you guys will get some little extra Too Pop to Handle tidbits every single weekend. I've been writing some really fun little blog posts. Well, I think they're fun. And if you're looking for a Halloween costume ideas from inspiration, I have a ton of costumes for you there, and I have a lot of really fun like Halloween and holiday content planned for the next few months specifically for my Substack. So make sure you are subscribed. Everything will be linked down below. And like I say every single week, if you like this episode, send it to a friend. If everybody sends this episode to one person, I will double in listeners. I say it every single week. You guys know the drill. But with that, thank you guys again for listening, and I will catch you guys next week. Bye.